Keep your radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7 on hot7025fm.com.
What's going on, everybody? It's your main man, 360, the poet from the Morning Wood, and I'm here to talk to you about the Sci-Fi Center. It's your Vegas home for science fiction, horror, and fantasy. From comic books, toys, and posters to movie screenings and live events, they've got you covered. Located at 900 Cameron Avenue, Suite B209, give them a call, 702-900-4335, or reach them at thescificenter.com.
E-Class Consulting. It's owned and operated by Carice, providing tools, training, and resources that are sure to make you and your business even more successful. We are staffed with a marketing, credit, tax, and a real estate consultant. E-Class Consulting also provides a temporary admin service called E-Class Admins. Want to book an appointment with E-Class Consulting? Call 702-518-3002 or email book@eclassconsulting.com. E-Class Consulting, navigating you to greatness.
It's your main man, 360, the poet from the Morning Wood. And are you looking for the perfect drink? Well, you found it. Mimosa Royale is the perfect combination of California sparkling white wine and natural juice that is both tasty and refreshing. No artificial colors or flavors, no sugar added, and it's gluten-free. As the world's first ready-to-drink mimosa, Mimosa Royale is perfect for any occasion, day or night. You no longer have to drink 12 of those seltzers just to get that perfect buzz. At 8% alcohol, Mimosa Royale is the perfect drink to party with. Offered in a variety of flavors and sizes, you are bound to find a Mimosa Royale that you'll love. We have berry, mango, apple, and orange, with more flavors to come. Mimosa Royale is the most award-winning flavored wine that serves in bottles or cans. You can find them online at drinkmimosa.com or find them at your local liquor store. Ask for it by name. Mimosa Royale. Ask for it by name, Mimosa Royale. Look at that. My engineer's trying to test me to make sure I'm all right in here. Make sure my ears is working, and they are. Make sure my heart is still working, and it is. What up with you, Dakari Kofi? You in the building always on time like a well-paid employee. That's what I'm talking about. He in this thing like a chicken wing in this on a Sunday thing. I don't know. I'm just making up stuff right now. But you here at the number one advice line, online or in person, and it's time to holla at the homie. And I am the homie, 360 the poet. So what's up? Or what up, though? What's happening? However y'all greet each other out there in the areas in which you are geographically located. You know, because depending on where you're from, depending on how you greet people, you know. If you from somewhere in Michigan, you probably going to say, what up, though? You know. If you somewhere down south, what up, my boy? You know, what up, kinfolk? You know, there's so many ways you can do it. And what up, shouted? You know, and I'm okay with all of them. What up, Sterling Armstrong? What's happening with you, pimpin'? You know, you up. What up, player? That's how he greet me every time he see me. What up, player? That's my dog, Sterling Armstrong. But, yeah, so we at the number one advice column online or in person with the homie 360 the poet. I always like to give my disclaimer whenever I come online to let y'all know I have not been trained technically, not, trained through life, yes. There it is. What up, player? I have not paid any tuition toward anything going along the lines of becoming a counselor or a clinical psychologist or psychiatrist. But what I am is more like a life coach, right? I'm somebody that you can kind of tune in and tap in with and ask me some questions because I've lived a life that's been a mug. We'll just say it like that. And if not, I've lived vicariously enough and close enough through people that allowed me to soak up that game to where I can squeeze it out my sponge and give it back to y'all. So that's how we rock and roll here at Holla at the Homie. I always want to make sure I shout out my sponsor of my outfit of the day. You know, you have the OOTD or shirt of the day, SOTD. So my shirt of the day brought to you by Black Excellence. That's James Lewis Pitt Jr., the second out there. What's going on, Britt? How you doing out there, my girl? You know, it's James Lewis Pitts II came up with this. He got me together, kind of my atmosphere pioneer with my old school mic. He put some of my bars on my sleeves. Like, if y'all seen the totality of this whole sweatshirt, man, it's got my saying on the hood, because I let people know I'm greater than most but less than none, and I put it in mathematical terms for y'all. So if y'all don't know how to read math, the greater than less than symbol, then you're bad. But if you do know how to read that, then that's how it goes in that order. But you know what we do here. I always like to come on here and let people know that I never tell you what to do. You know, that's my goal. I'm never here to tell you what to do. I just give you options based off the information you give me on what can be done. Right? So, you know, people send me in letters and stuff like that, and I sit here and I read them on air. I read the letter online, and I invite y'all to tune in, and then I also invite y'all to tap in. So y'all let me know what y'all think about the situation too, because you can always call me, 702-551-5261. Phone number's right up here. Let me see you pointing to it the right way on that screen. On that one, this if you're watching on Facebook, but for us, it's 702-551-5261 if you want to call in. But you can always, if you want to, jump in my live on this side, or, you know, jump in my live on that side, or however you feel like you think you can do it to get in there. I'll use my discrepancy on whether or not, it depends on who it is trying to jump in, because some people try to jump in. I'm not too technically advanced to know how to kick you off that fast, so some people might come in there talking crazy, right? So but we're not here for all that. We're here to kind of like just give a little bit of love and some light towards people that may be going through something. So again, I always like to say I appreciate anybody who takes out the time not only to tune in, but somebody who, especially those who write in, because those are the ones that's kind of keeping this boat afloat. You know, currently right now I got, last I counted, after I pulled this one out the deck today, I still got 11 more. What's going on, Megan? You know what I'm saying? Like, I got 11 more letters even after this one, so I'm appreciating y'all. So y'all keep them coming in. You know, my partner Danny at work was telling me, man, you got a good thing going, man. We got to find a way to get you out there a little bit more, to get you pubbed in. So always, you know, subscribe, follow, like, share, do all that kind of stuff. Like I say, I'm an old school dude, so I'm more like word of mouth. But the word of mouth on today's, get down is right here online, or right there online, or the TikToks of the world and stuff like that. So, but again, you know, we crawling through it. In a minute, we going to take off running. And for all those that's running with us, we going to make sure y'all stay in shape to make sure I got y'all ready to keep up pace with me too. Okay, so again, I want to thank anybody who takes the time out to send me these wonderful letters that I get the chance to dissect and highlight and write notes all up on, because we're going to talk about it today. All right, so let's dive right into it. We're talking about breakups and how those can come about a little easier, or if that's possible at all. So here's our letter. Dear homie, I hope this letter finds you well. I'm writing to seek your advice on a matter that has been weighing heavily on my heart. I find myself in a difficult situation, and I'm unsure of how to proceed. I've been in a relationship with my boyfriend for a few years now, and while there have been many good times, I have come to realize that we are no longer compatible. Our goals, interests, and values have diverged, and I believe it's time for us to go our separate ways. Breaking up is never easy, and I truly care about him as a person. I don't want to hurt him, but I also don't want to continue in a relationship that is no longer bringing me happiness and fulfillment. I believe that we both deserve to find partners who are better suited to our current paths in life. I'm struggling to find the right words to approach and initiate this conversation. I want to be respectful and considerate of his feelings, but I also want to be honest about my own feelings. Should I meet him in person to have this conversation, or would a written letter be more appropriate? How can I convey my thoughts and emotions without causing unnecessary pain? I am also worried about the aftermath of the breakup, such as dealing with shared friends and the logistics of separating our lives. Are there any steps I can take to make this process as smooth as possible for both of us? Your wisdom and guidance would be appreciated during this difficult time, and I'm looking forward to hearing your insights. Sincerely, Navigating Heartache. That's a name for you, ain't it? Navigating Heart. Let me prop that letter up so I can. What's up, Double E? prop that letter up so I can keep referring back to it, because I got some stuff highlighted on that thing. So, what is that sound? Is it a bird in here? Boy, I tell you, ain't nothing like it, baby. It's birds in the studio. I love it, though. You know, that means we all ready to take flight together. That's exactly what that means. You got to go on the fly. Look at that, all those puns. But anyway, so navigating heartache. So first of all, I appreciate you. Thank you again for writing in and asking me this question, because I've never really had to dissect this as a topic. Because, I've always been a believer in, like, there's no rules in breakups and stuff like that. But if you care about somebody, exactly, Birdie's talking. If you care about somebody, or if you ever have cared about somebody, or you talk like you cared about somebody, then you should take care in how you, break up with somebody. So first of all, this is a topic that is common. Everybody done broke up, unless you done been with the first partner that you've ever had in life for life. You've experienced breakup, right? So it's common, it's challenging, it's a challenging aspect of the relationship because it's a part of it. There's a beginning and there's an ending to everything that's good must come to an end, right? At some point, unless you're talking about marriage and stuff like that, you hope and pray that those things last until death do us part type things, But when you're dealing with go together relationships, if you haven't crossed that threshold yet, then you may come across the area when it's time to break up, So again, it's a common and challenging aspect of a relationship, right? First, you got to, you really want to take an approach to the breakup with empathy and basically respect. You don't ever want to get disrespectful in breakups, because that's bad voodoo, bad karma, whatever you want to call it. My philosophy on that is like, the reason why we're going to talk about that is you have to learn how to do things, even things that are harsh or unpleasant, with couth, or how to absorb them without taking that hard of a blow, right? So one thing, as far as like breakups can be detrimental. Breakups can be destructive. Breakups can be like mentally challenging. So you got to handle them with empathy and respect, meaning try to put yourself on as the broken up with. If you can, everybody doesn't possess empathy. I understand how that rocks and rolls, but, try to put yourself in the position of the broken up with, and how would you receive the things that you're about to say to that person, and do it. That'll probably make you feel even more along the lines that you have to be respectful in doing it, because if it comes across to you as like, damn, that was harsh, then most likely it was harsh, because people's perception is their reality, right? No matter how you soften the blow, they still going to be like, man, that hurt. That was painful, whatever, because it's the end of something, it's a wound. It's something that you ripping a Band-Aid off, so it's going to hurt for a little bit. It is. It's going to hurt for a little bit, but is it going to destroy you? Is it going to destroy them? It may, if you come about it in the wrong way. You never know where it may have somebody spiral to if you don't approach it with couth and respect and a little bit of empathy. So like, in order to do that, we're going to break down a couple things, right? So the first step, I believe in being able to give that approach and delivery with empathy and respect, and is to understand the decision that you're making, right? You may think, oh, I know what you mean. What do you mean, 360? Understand my decision. I'm making a decision. I completely understand it. Yes, but you gotta let's discuss self-reflection before like initiating the breakup. Okay, so going back to your letter, Miss Navigating Heartache, it says, I have come to realize that we are no longer compatible. Our goals, interests, and values have diverged, and I believe it's time for us to go our separate ways. So that in itself, you've done some self-reflection, right? So you've got you've got that portion of it under wraps. So if you're thinking about how to approach it, then you've got first step already under wraps. You have to think about how are you involved in this whole situation? Like, what part did you play that went towards the demise? And we have to take ownership in all of that. And the card says, if you truly love him, tell him in person. I'm definitely an advocate of in-person conversation, just because, again, if you care for somebody, you want to make sure it's a personal touch on it. And letters, that's kind of, to me, in my opinion, that would be, resemblant of a cowardice exit. Like a Dear John letter. Like, Dear John, by the time you read these lines, I'll be gone. Like, stuff like that. Like, that's like I'm sneaking out of the relationship. And unless you moving somewhere completely different, but it doesn't seem as if you are, because the next thing you talk about is like, in the next portion, you got to talk about how y'all going to separate y'all lives. So that means you sticking around to the area. You still going to have some of the same friends, and you want to decide, you want to figure out how to navigate through that. We're going to talk about that later, but you writing a letter, you got to do this one in person. You got to woman up and be like, yo, sir, Mr. Man in my life, I got to talk to you. We need to talk. And, and a man, the worst words anybody want to hear from their significant other is, we need to talk. Oh, man, because now either you just about to, and so, you got to prepare for that, though. Again, we're going to dissect that. You have to prepare for that. Like, you got to recognize when a relationship isn't working and it needs to end. To be able to do that, that's valuable. That's valuable to be able to have that understanding. Like, you recognize that it's not working for us. And so that's just part of that self-reflection. And you know that it needs to end. So that's that part you've already got. Like, you know that it's not working. So you've got value in your decision making already. So now you got to worry about like how to, I can't emphasize enough the importance of like honesty with yourself, right? You have to know and believe that the decision that you're making is the one you want to make. So I get that you sent this letter in, but I see some conviction in here. Your words do have some conviction, and you looking to me to see how to pull the trigger, or even if you want, because you never asked, should you pull the trigger? So it looks as if you've got that portion down, that you know that you want to do this, that you want to end this relationship. So if it's no longer bringing you happiness or fulfillment, then you have to be honest with them as well, not just with you. You have to give your self-reflection. And once you do that, then you got to prepare for the conversation, right? And how do you prepare for that conversation? When the time comes, you make sure that you got like a chill place, or like something that's relaxing, that's not upsetting and doesn't have a whole bunch of distractions associated with it. When you do have those type of, presentable like comforts, then that makes the conversation possibly go over a little better. It all depends on your dude, though. It really all depends on your dude. Like, so you have to find, if you've been with him long enough, the things that calm him. Because women, y'all real astute with that, right? Like, y'all real attentive to understanding our comforts, our discomforts. Y'all real good at that. And in this instance, you need to use that she-male superpower. That's one of y'all superpowers, to be able to see from a distance what it is that's going to bring us peace and comfort. So you got to set that up like chess, Miss Navigating Heartache. You have to set it up to the point where, okay, I know I got it. If y'all like kicking it in the man cave, smoking some bud, like, roll up a joint, get it ready for him, pour him some wine if y'all drink wine, or pour him some yak or some scotch, or maybe don't introduce alcohol. Maybe not. Rewind. But if that's what puts him in a chill spot, I prefer, I recommend rolling him a joint. If that's putting him on the chill spot, then that means, like, get him to there. My engineer is looking at me. Look like we got a caller that's calling in for us. So we're going to pause for the calls on that while we talk about that, because it seems as if the caller has something to say. Caller, holla, you on the line with the homie?
Yo, what's up, man?
What's up with you?
All right. I need some advice on a situation going on in my life. You about to give a whole nother subject right now. Like, what's the subject we talking about? Because I want to make sure I don't want to get off the. Because I already read a letter online today. Okay, what subject are you on right now?
All right, right now we talking about how to break up easy, man. We talking about how to break up with somebody easy and how to make it as less painful as possible when separating from a relationship.
That's exactly what I need help with.
See, there it is. The universe put you online with me. So how can I help? What's your question about how to do that?
All right, so I've been dating this girl for like 2 years, but recently she's gone like crazy. How can I break up with her without her like going absolutely batshit crazy on me?
So you trying to figure out a way to how to break up with somebody without them losing their marbles on you and going bananas, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so that's basically what we're talking about right now. I just spoke about that issue online, and the first step we talked about is making sure that you understand that decision that you're making with her, right? So if you're sure that that's what you want to do, if she's going that direction, she's already kind of like, because the person that's asking me online is asking whether or not they should write a letter or do it in person. Your situation is a little bit more delicate than what hers might be. She's saying that they got a good thing. They're not a crazy situation, but she's over their non-growth together. So if yours is crazy, you might want to do hers from a distance. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes the road less with the least amount of resistance is the best road to travel on sometimes, just because if she's already gone crazy on you once, or if you figuring that that's the direction that she's headed, then you can't really meet crazy with crazy. I always like to say, you got to meet crazy with cool, crazy with calm. So the only calm in that situation I can find for you, caller, is to be able to break up with her from a distance. You got to be able to do it from afar, because in person doesn't seem like it'd be the right situation or the way to handle it. All right?
All right, I really appreciate that, man.
No doubt. I appreciate you calling in, man. I appreciate you tuning in and tapping in with the homie. And let your friends know where they can reach us at 702-551-5261. All right, I'm going to holler at you, man, in a minute.
Have a good night, man.
You as well, Chief. See, there it was. See, people even calling in. So like I said, you can always call in at 702-551-5261, or you can hit me up, or leave your comments online, either in the comments on Facebook or on Instagram. Because everybody, like I said in the beginning, this is a common situation. It's also a challenging aspect of any relationship when it's time to put an end to it, right? So we've discussed, first you got to understand and do some self-reflection on understanding the decision you're making, right? So after that, you got to prepare for the conversation. So we're talking about how to make sure that the setting is right, make sure that the mood is right, right? So in the event that you do have that place in mind, this is a caveat. Don't ruin a spot for somebody, though. That's one thing you got to not do. Like, if the man cave is, his spot, his solid spot, and you moving out the crib and he gonna have to be back in that cave again, don't break up with him there. You don't want to ruin a spot for somebody. Like that's kind of rude. You don't want to take them to their favorite spot and give them some bad news. I just said make sure that the setting. What's up, okay? I just said to make sure that the setting is appropriate. Choose a comfortable private setting, and make sure you find the right time with the least amount of distractions. So I don't say like, what's up, James? Little James Pitt Slim with the to the brim again. I say find somewhere for you to be able to, like I say, don't ruin a spot for somebody. Don't take him to his favorite restaurant and be like, yo, it's over. I brought you here because I know you're not going to act a fool because they love you here and you don't want to mess up your reputation. Nah, don't do that. That's bogus, because now every time he go back there, a spot he normally would enjoy is going to be tainted by your, you marred that situation for him, right? So with that being said, like, you got to make sure that, the setting works for you too. So don't ruin it for yourself either. Don't take him to your favorite spot, because now every time you go in there, now your mind is going to be messed up, misnavigating heartache. So find a neutral spot, a neutral playing field, like my Dolphins playing the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday morning early in Germany. That's a neutral playing field, but make sure it's a comfortable spot for everybody, before you drop that bomb on them. Do your best to, like, anticipate, like, how they gonna react, and what up, Al Rich? You got to do your best to kind of anticipate what their emotions are gonna be, but to also consider your own. I never advocate people putting other feelings before their own. I just say consider other people's feelings as well, along with your own. Never forget how you feel. I'm never going to preach to you, forget your feelings, worry about how they feel. Nah, that's not cool. That's not fair to you. That's putting you in a disadvantage in a situation where any good business deal is, good on both sides. It's a win-win for everybody. Like, I don't walk away losing, neither do you. The relationship may be over, but I'm not walking away a loser out of this, and neither are you. So consider those things. Make sure that you consider your feelings and theirs when, during the preparation for this conversation. Like, again, play it like chess, misnavigating heartache. You have to be a couple moves ahead when you're going to drop a bomb like this on somebody, right? You can't just expect them to be okay with it, and you deliver this news at their niece's Sweet 16 party in front of everybody. You can't expect good results out of that. Like, you do wrong gonna come your way, right? So I'm a firm believer in that boomerang called karma. That boomerang, what you get back, what you throw out, dog. Even in peculiar ways that you don't know about. So be mindful of how you handle it. So that's in step 2 in preparation for that conversation, right? Now, as far as like where you go from there, now that you all prepped and you done thought about it and realized what your role in all this is, then you got to actually have the breakup conversation, right? So how do you do that, right? How do you have that breakup conversation? Whether, again, like in person is what my recommendation for you is, but it might have been a phone call or a letter for the person I had on the line just a second ago, because he said his girl done gone crazy. So you said that in your letter that I don't want to hurt him, but then there's that number one word, but. I also don't want to continue in a relationship that no longer serves me happiness and fulfillment. So you have to, if you're going to break up with him, you got to be stern and firm with it. You can't be wishy-washy and lukewarm and straddling the fence or whatever, parable you want to use and throw in there. Insert that saying. You have to, now it's time, have the conversation. You prep for it. Now how do you do it? First, you got to start again with empathy and compassion. Meaning, what does that mean? Like, you have to show your genuine concern. Like, look, after painful consideration, you can't just, don't sound all stoic with it or all rehearsed, but, just think like, I really, really, really thought about this a lot. And I tried my hardest to not let this be the end result, right? But there's that word again. But this is how it's, so show that you genuinely are concerned about the pain that is associated with this conversation. Don't make people feel like, you just talking out the side of your neck and you couldn't possibly care less about how they feel. Don't let them feel that way. That's not cool. You wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that. So You know, if you ask in the letter about how to break up with somebody, that means you really care about them. Because in the world of breakups, like I say, normally there's no rules. You just, man, it's over. You know? But if you care about somebody, you love somebody, and they are a part of you, and you are aware of that and recognize that, then you have to do it with some compassion and with some empathy, right? You know, but be honest. Be honest about your feelings and about your reasons. So, you know, don't sugarcoat, you know, the words and, you know, forget to make your point. What's up, babe? You know, if you're going to break up with somebody, like, you got to be honest about how you feel, and you have to be honest about what your reasons are for this breakup. Don't be like, well, it's just because, like, maybe, like, nah, stand on it. 10 toes firm, planted, but on your toes, like, you know, on them. You know, you got to be able to move. But, and say it with your chest. That's what I mean by that. Like, you can't, like, halfway give them an answer for why this is occurring. You got to let them know your reasons. Like, I don't feel like we're growing in the same direction. I don't believe, like, our paths and our trajectory is headed the way that we anticipated it was going to go when we first got into this. Like, you know, say what you need to say to them. Don't be shy. Say what you need to say to them, right? But say it with your chest, but not all boastful and all tough with it, you know, because then it kind of goes into my next point. Like, try to avoid any finger pointing, you know, avoid placing blame or anything like that. Because you know what I like to say? I learned this a long time ago. When you point a finger, 3 fingers point right back at you. That stands for me, myself, and I, right? So what does that mean? You know, don't go in there saying, well, because you did this, you know, it's nobody's fault. When people get to the understanding, like, it's, you know, if it's a letter like this, if you try to figure it out, like, it's nobody's real fault. Like, it's no infidelity that at least hasn't been stated, or it's nothing that, you know, that has caused a ripple, you know, or a wave in y'all smooth sailing. It's nobody's fault. It just is what it is that it's come to this point. It's just come to this point of where, what's next? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Like, where do we go? Wagwan, where we going, man? Figure that out. If you can't figure that out, that's what this conversation is all about. You've reached a point where, you know, it's time to move on, but it's nobody's fault, right? And then the next thing, my next way to try to have this conversation is you have to actively listen. What do I always say? What do Uncle 360 always say? I always say you have to listen to absorb and not to reply, right? Really hear them out. You know, when they do respond, you know, because they're going to have some emotions. They're going to have some responses. Listen, actively listen, mean like dive in. Don't even try to think of a response. Just convert, you know, let them let it out, and then you converse. That's how good ones happen. That's how good, positive, or good, productive, you know, dialogue occurs. By people listening actively to the person that's speaking, but not just waiting to jump back in like double dutch and hurry up and get in and be like, oh, Mary, Mac, all dressed in black. No, they don't, you know, try to say all that. You trying to wait for them to say, hear their rhythm, what they got. Listen to them. Like I always say, my brother Cease always say, you can hear some music bumping in the car down the street, but you can only listen when you tuned in, right? What up, Dan Noodle? You can only listen when you tuned in, right? So how do you listen to somebody? By actively participating into what they have to say, absorbing what they have to say. Allow them to ask questions and express their thoughts. Yo, let me see what your request is, Danny. You want to go live on here, Dan? Let me see what Dan Dukerson is talking about. I got a live request. I allowed the request to come through to join in. I'm accepting Danny. He got a question for us on here. He got a statement to say about Wagwan. Uh-oh. It's been declined. He must have hit the wrong button. So anyway, but when you're doing these things, start with empathy and compassion, right? We talked about that. Be honest about your feelings and your reasons, right? Avoid pointing the finger. It's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault, right? You know, and listen to what they have to say, because they're going to get their emotions out. They're going to get their feelings out. And you respecting them enough to have this conversation, so respect them enough to receive what they got to say back. It's rude for people to say what they got to say and not to hear what you have to say back. That's disrespectful. So make sure that you give them room and allow them the space to express those feelings, right? This is how you're going to have a productive conversation about a breakup, in my opinion. This is some ways that it could happen, IMO, in my opinion, right? So make sure that you use the appropriate language when conversing. Yeah, I said appropriate language, like, you know, and make sure you're not cussing each other out and stuff like that. Respect gets respect, you know? Be prepared for any potential challenges and trying to how to navigate through such situations. Like, you know, if it get loud, like I told you before, my homeboy Rod, DJ Count, hit me off with one of the coldest lines ever that kind of changed my explosiveness a little, a lot. Whenever I'm able to dig deep and recall his words of Yoda wisdom, he said to me, "You fight fire better with water than with more fire." You understand what I'm saying? So if the conversation's getting explosive, you don't have to meet them there, because again, that's emotions coming out. It's like you shook up a soda pop, right? Shake it up, shake up a soda pop, and then you take the top off, and you can't, you know it's gonna spill everywhere, and you can't expect to just put your thumb on there and think that it's not gonna affect you. No, it's gonna spray everywhere on you. So let them get it out. Let them get it out, because you shaking up that pop already. So let them get it out. It's okay for them to be able to say it with their chest too, back to you. Be prepared on how to navigate through on how they going to deliver that to you, though. Again, that's part of the preparation in beforehand. Proper preparation prevents poor performance, right? Because poor performance promotes pain. Remember that. It's more than 5 P's. It's a bunch of P's. You know? So remember that, you know, you fight fire better with water than you do with more fire. So if they, you know, coming at you explosive or combative, then don't, you know, it's okay for you to let them get that out, because they just feel in a certain way. You breaking up with them. If they happy about it, then you're going to feel like it's egg on your face. Like, ooh, you know what, girl, I was waiting on you to say that. Good looking, man, because I've been checking out, you know. Then you be like, dun-dun-dun-dun, feeling stupid McNupid. A little bit, you know, but maybe even more, maybe relieved. I don't know. I never know how you may feel after that. You may be like, ooh, this is going way better than I thought it would. We both ready to break up. Cool. Perfect. Because you did say in your letter, I believe that we both deserve to find partners who are better suited for our current paths in life. You said that. So it's not like you just want to break up and not be with nobody. No, you breaking up to go find somebody new. Find somebody. You said the Lord said, you know. What's up, Bobby Neal? What's up, Johnny Bond? Tennessee State represent. But yeah, so you got to be able to be prepared to absorb how they going to give that back to you. You know, you serve, but what about the volley? This is a conversation. It's a two-way thing. You can't just expect to just ace everything. You got to be able to receive some of that back. Let them get it off their chest. You know, and this is a way you can kind of get your separation from it, right? You know, because that's my next point. Like, what do you do after the breakup? Now you've done it. Now you done got all that out the way, Miss Navigating Heartache. You got the conversation in. You were able to have that, right? Let me see. You understood your decision. You prepped for the convo, and you actually had the conversation. You've broken up. Now what? What gonna do? What gonna do when the boy no more your mind? You know, you got to discuss the importance of giving each other space. That's the first thing. In that conversation, discuss it somewhere in there, the importance of giving each other space. Because you asked, you said, I'm trying to figure out the logistics on our shared friends and separating our lives. You know, so that's part of the logistics. getting all that together in the beginning, during this conversation, during the contract negotiations, right? What does that look like? What does the conversation beforehand include? What does this new contract say? Because you had a contract of being together, the things you expected out of one another. Now that's a whole nother contract on what y'all expect from each other after y'all no longer together. The separation contract now. Discuss the importance of that. If you feel like you need some space from them but you don't know if you're going to be able to do that because y'all share friends, then see which friends you get in the breakup. That's real. How you going to separate the assets? What's up, Rob Duke? How you going to separate the assets? You know what I mean? Like it's difficult if I had a show of a couple of months ago, like a couple kind of broke up in a bad way, but they was best friends with another couple. So that's difficult. If your best friend is his best friend's best friend in life, then that's going to be a little difficult because y'all not going to get rid of y'all person, y'all people, right? But if you discuss in this conversation the necessity of being able to have space as y'all figure out y'all life after each other, then I think you'll have an adult conversation saying like, hey, my girl is your boy's old lady. And, if we can kind of they can be Switzerland in a way. They can be the peace ground. Like, I know we're going to cross paths somehow with them, but if we can navigate through this and try to figure out how to not be there at the same time, or, I know they're going to have events with the kids. Okay, we got that. So now that's part of being able to be grown up about it. But what about your other friends that y'all might share? Who gets them in the breakup? And figure that out. Talk about it. That's a place to have those open dialogues. Like, I really lean on this person. We work together. Like, I know that's your boy. Y'all shoot pool together, but I work with dude. Like, that may be a situation. So like you kind of get that friend in the breakup. Y'all work together. Y'all was work friends before him and your man became pool hall friends. So you got to get him in the first part of the breakup. They'll get to hang together again eventually. But just not in the early parts, because that, that kind of like, he would always come to work telling you about, man, we kicked it with your man last night. Your boy's stupid, whatever the case may be. But you got to understand these things, right? Where does that border exist for y'all? Understand the need to respect each other's boundaries. What I'm talking about, borders and boundaries. There's no need to immediately rush into being friends. Yeah, I know y'all were friends and y'all were a couple and but now as y'all breaking up, yes, y'all can still have the foundation of friendship, especially if it was a genuine actual friendship. Y'all can have that foundation, but in the early stages, you don't have to rush back into being each other's homies. You don't have to. So understand these things, like, take into account the fact that they may or may not, want to continue to be friends with you. But if they do or if they don't, that makes it easier, right? But if they do want to continue to be friends with you and you do still want to continue to be friends with them, y'all have to allow each other some time for the Band-Aid to come off naturally. And not to lose anything behind it. Like, don't rip it off and then you got an open sore and you took away the scab. Like, no, like, learn to let that heal a little bit. Scars are reminders of of what happened. They just don't hurt anymore. So let the scar form. You can't do it while it's still sore, while it's still open. Allow the scar to heal and then you can come back and possibly be in each other's circle. You can't rush into it. That's I think that's, if you decide to, that's completely on you. Again, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to give you options of what can be done and what might work in the event that they do get done. And rushing into being friends doesn't seem like one of the most productive responses or actions. Unless y'all have one of those conversations like, man, I've been waiting to have this talk with you. I couldn't wait till you decide you wanted to break up. Because if you have that kind of conversation, then y'all can be homies again, like tomorrow or maybe next week. But like if y'all was really both ready to break up, if y'all both at this point, then that gap between y'all being homies again won't be as wide. You know? So understand those things. Like, you don't have to be besties immediately. Right? So let's go back over some things that we talked about today. Let's recap. So we talked about understanding your decision, right? We talked about preparing for the conversation. We talked about having the breakup conversation. And then we talked about moving forward after the breakup, right? You know, understanding the decision means, like, first and foremost, realize what your part in all this is. What role do you play in the demise of the relationship? After that, you got to prepare for the conversation. Like, how do I set this up right? How do I make sure it happens in the way I need it to happen? Or the way we, because don't just say I, because that's selfish. Selfishness is one of my biggest idiosyncrasies or pet peeves, or selfishness gets under my skin like tattoo ink. It really does. Because it's so many ways that you could not make it all about you. You know? So, you have to be able to understand the decision and then prepare for it. You know, understand that that's what is best for y'all, in your opinion. You know, and you've reached that decision now. Now, being selfish, you know, you got to take some time to be a little selfish in some things. I just mean like being completely selfish in situations. It's okay to insert yourself into situations. I'm not saying like, because that's where the empathy comes in. You just vocalize in your empathetic ways when you put yourself in their shoes. So don't get me twisted on saying like, you know, never, you know, think about how you would feel in the situation, right? But always make sure that you know, understand your role and not trying to live your role and their role and tell them about their role in it too. Let them have self-discovery in that, right? Again, then when you prepare for the conversation, like make sure it's, you know, a pleasant as possible conversation, because there's no reason to be ugly and nasty with somebody that you once cared about, right? Or still care about, just don't want to be with in that way anymore. There's no need to get ugly and nasty with anybody like that, because then you're creating and pretty basically an enemy that could have been somebody who could have still been, you know, a distant ally. You know, like I said, if I got an enemy, I can't point him out. I can't point him like that's my enemy right there, because I don't hold on to him like that. Either we in each other's lives or we not. And, you know, if you mean me harm, then I just, you know, that's my opposition. You know, I don't like to say ops like these kids be saying, but you're my opposition, but that don't make you my enemy. Just because you're trying to, and, you know, unless you're trying to take me out. And now if I discover you trying to take me out, then at that point, I could point out an enemy. But I don't know anybody at this point that's trying to actively take me out, so I can't claim an enemy. So don't create one is basically what I'm saying by coming at this whole situation the wrong way. Don't create an enemy out of somebody that could continue to be a distant ally. You know, and when you have that conversation with them, make sure it's respectful and empathetic and considerate. You know, don't point blame at each other. Yeah, you know, if the discussion comes up, well, like, you know, let's figure out like what happened. You know, you can say there are times when these things occurred, but that doesn't mean that was the reason why in its totality. Now, if you start to tally up some stuff, then they'll start to realize like, damn, I didn't even know I was doing all that. Or maybe I did know and didn't care enough to make it think that it was that would ever lead to this. But now they know a lesson. You know, people, you know, I like to say, I don't take losses, I learn lessons. So even though that y'all may be losing each other as a relationship partner, you've learned some lessons, if nothing else, but about each other and about yourself. Because, again, you've taken in that self-inventory while understanding the decision that you just made, right? And then after having that conversation, figuring out how to move forward after it's all over. What up, Cherish? Sugar babe. After you have that conversation, how do you move forward, right? You know, make sure that you got to understand that, like, you know, the importance of approaching each breakup with empathy, honesty, and kindness, and all those things, right? You have to be able to go into them understanding that these things are necessities in moving forward and making sure this is a productive breakup. Empathy, honesty, kindness. You know, when you have those things and they're incorporated in it, then that gives you the opportunity to go back and replay the conversation and say, like, you know, I'm glad we went this way with it because that has put us here later on in the future. Because, again, if you cared about somebody, if you care about somebody enough to want to sit them down and have a conversation with them about breaking up, then you want to keep that person in your life in some capacity. Or you may not. You may not. It may be too painful to keep them in your life. I don't know. Again, I'm just here to tell you options, not to tell you what to do. Right? So, again, I want to thank everybody who added their words of wisdom. You know, everybody who helped me with give advice to the writer. The people, you know, I appreciate my caller for calling in. Everybody who tuned in and tapped in on both Instagram and on Facebook. As always, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate my writer, Ms. Navigating Heartache. I hope I answered the question for you, or at least helped you get an understanding of how you're going to navigate through this situation of breaking up with somebody with a little less pain as possible. But just always make sure that you understand your decision, you prepare for the conversation, you have the conversation, and then you make the appropriate moves afterwards, right? So any of y'all that don't know how to follow me, make sure you look at it all right here on the screen. It's at _360 the poet. On Instagram, and also 360 Poet on TikTok. And then you can always find me on YouTube at Holla at the Homie with 360. Hopefully I find all y'all out there. Make sure y'all subscribe, tune in, and tap in and review the replays of all the tapes. So to all my people out there in Facebook world, my folks out there in IG land, again, I appreciate y'all for hollering at the homie, for sitting here hollering at me for this close to 1 hour. And until next time, I'm going to holler at y'all in a minute.